Hello friends, welcome back. Want to walk into your next Azure developer interview with absolute confidence? This is the only video you will need. We are combining our best content on Azure App Service, Functions, Storage Account, Key Vault, plus the critical security concepts of RBAC and Managed Identity and Service Principles. We will tackle critical questions and give you the precise explanation to impress any interviewer. So come, without delay, let's get started. Hello friends, welcome back. Want to truly understand the Azure functions for an interview, not just to memorize the answers, right? So join us as we explore the essential serverless concepts through the 10 plus targeted important questions, providing concise explanation and guiding you the best response to any interviewer. So without delay, come, let's get started. Alright my friends, so before we tackle the interview preps heads on, let's hit pause for just a few minutes and I want to kick things off with a quick high-level refresher on Azure Functions. We'll be using a simple analogy to make sure the concept is crystal clear and then immediately ground that understanding with some real-world examples from our existing code on the project. My goal here is to quickly align our understanding, brush up on those core concepts and set us up perfectly to dive into the technical depth you will need it for the interview. So let's start with a simple analogy. Okay, so let's say you have a food. Okay, you already cooked the food, or you just have the food, you need to heat it up or cook it. The best thing that you do is what? You choose a microwave oven, right? So you go take the food, put it inside the microwave oven, just hit the start button. That's it. The food gets cooked after some time, and then you can open the door and start eating it. Of course, it'll be hot, but you can eat it, right? The food is cooked. Now, here's the thing. Compare this in terms of technical stuff, right? Here, the food that you're trying to cook inside the microwave is your piece of code that wants to be executed, okay? The microwave that is attached to the power card, like, the electricity, and then the whole microwave is not sitting in the main road, right? It is inside a house or shop or whatever it is, right? So all of those things, right? They're all called infrastructure, like a platform that provides this ability for us to cook a food. So those are taken care by the Microsoft Azure. They provide us this platform where we take our piece of code and go and getting executed to get the answer. In microwave perspective, you just take the food, put it inside, hit the start button, that's it. It gets cooked and comes out. You eat it happily. That is what exactly Azure Function at a high level. So Azure Functions are a serverless compute service on a Microsoft Azure cloud that allows you to run code in response to an event without even managing the infrastructure by yourself. Alright, so they provide a platform as a service. Offering enabling you to focus on your code while Azure manages the underlying infrastructure. Okay, so now we have some basic idea of what is Azure Functions. As we go through the questions, I will explain you what it is. All right, are you ready? So come, let's dive into the interview perspective. All right, so those who are already aware, the code is in github.com/learnsmartcoding, and if you go to repository, you'll find all of the magical things that we did so far. Okay, and then this is the latest and greatest, website that I developed. Like, we all are learning on this. So this is where we write or test our knowledge. Okay, so I have logged into this. I'm going to log into this website, and I've also opened up portal.azure.com. I've logged in with my email ID. All right, so all of these things are ready, so we should keep going. So I'm going to use my registered email ID and password. So just for information, this website itself has 4 Azure functions, and in fact, when you're logging in, the Azure function is invoked. So let's deep dive into it. Okay, so I'm going to go to the course. So I went inside the course and I'm clicking Azure and then see the available test options. Let's see, what do we have as of this recording? We have this, but don't worry, every single concept will be brought up here. All right, so let's start the Azure function test. Let's see, we have these many questions. I'm going to choose 15, though it's not going to take 45 minutes, so hang tight. And I'm going to go in the practice mode, and you will see, if you've already seen this similar videos, you'll know what is practice mode is, but I'll explain you as we progress. I'm going to start and all our Azure functions. Okay, so we're going to understand the question. Let's see, try to understand the question and then try to answer by yourself. Just guess it as we go through it, and then this time you're going to utilize it as your practice as well. All right, if you don't know, don't worry, I'm going to explain you. So the first one, let's say somebody is going to ask you which deployment method allows zero downtime deployment and testing in Azure Functions. What does it mean? Basically, Azure Functions, right? They sit. Okay, so let's open up an Azure Functions. For example, this is Azure Functions. This is the one which is used in this website, right? Behind the scene. Okay, so we have these many things, right? So these are the one, right? So let's say I wanted to update all of these methods. I have a new version of the code that needs to be deployed. There will be a downtime, right? At least a couple of seconds till the deployment is done. So without that, how can you do it? That is what the question is. So before even you think of anything, just understand that even though it is Azure Functions, if you look at this is deployed under this website. And if you closely monitor, after the first one, .azurewebsites.net. Yes, I hope you guessed it. Anything that ends with .azurewebsites.net are nothing but Azure App Service web app. So behind the scene, though you use, and you can probably say I use Azure Functions, they are part of the Azure App Service web app. Microsoft deploys this as a Azure App Service web app, okay? But it manages everything. We have no idea where it is deployed, but Microsoft knows, okay? So based on this information, let's go back and see what are our options. Manually zip and deploy? No, as you deploy at that point of time, it's not going to work. So this is wrong answer. GitHub push, same thing. Anything that you push, it's not going to work. FTP upload, whether you manually deploy or using FTP file transfer protocol. So you log in with username and password to an FTP site and you copy paste your code. That is also not going to solve the problem. The actual answer is staging the slots. Staging the slots is part of a concept in Azure App Service web app. So what does it mean is, let's say you have a staging, right? So UAT, user acceptance test, and production. Okay, so what will happen is generally these tools are literally same. They'll have everything same. What they will do is you use something called staging slots, meaning they will first it's like a duplicate copy of the production. So you deploy it there, and from there the load balancer and Microsoft will take care of routing the request to the staging slot, and then they swap the code. So staging goes to the duplicate, staging goes to production goes to staging. Okay, and then finally all the requests will slowly start going to the production. There won't be any downtime. Okay, so that's why this is the answer. So let's see. Correct. So use staging slot to test new versions without affecting the production. This is how you test it. All right, and then explanation is here. How does it work and all of those things? See, exactly what I explained. Slots allowing deploying and testing in a staging environment. After verification, you can swap with the production with no downtime. So you deploy to one staging, you test it out, and then just like that, it swaps to the production without affecting any incoming request. Okay, so zero downtime. Okay, so we learned some concepts. Okay, good. So how do you secure an HTTP triggered Azure function endpoint? How do you secure it? Basically, that's the question. Let's go over it. Can you use Azure Functions or OAuth via Azure AD? Basically, function keys are also kind of secured, or via OAuth. Azure AD is also secured. Use Azure DevOps? Not really. DevOps is for deployment, right? It's not for securing any functions. It doesn't make sense. You can't secure HTTP triggers. That's very bullshit. It's just an opposite of it. Says, hey, you can't do it. Everybody will use it. Something like that, right? This is wrong. Encrypt in host.json, definitely wrong. There's nothing we are going to do with that host.json encryption. So answer is this. Okay, so whenever you choose, you will see a short answer in terms of you answering to the interviewer and also explanation for your understanding. All right, so next one, what happens when Azure function in the consumption plan hits a high number of incoming events? Great. So first of all, right, long back when this Azure function came, there were only two plans, premium plan and the consumption plan. In consumption plan, it has some restrictions like how much it will scale up. When I say scale up, how many instance of your Azure function app is can be deployed. Premium has a lot many features. Okay, so basically let's understand. So in a consumption plan, if your traffic is too high, what will happen? Will it crash? No. It starts a new VM manually. No, we are not doing anything manual. Azure takes care of everything, right? That's what we spoke initially. Our code, we give it to him. Microsoft Azure will take care of everything. It scales automatically based on demands, right? When I say scales, initially it will be deployed to only one version, and then as it scales, it deploys to multiple versions depending on how many requests are coming. I think we should do those kind of testing. We will do it in upcoming videos. It queues events and process them after 24 hours. No, if you call from a browser and if it processes after 24 hours, browser will time out in just 1 minute. So this is wrong. So scaling is what the right answer. And let's move on to the next concept. What is the purpose of a durable timer in orchestrator function? Okay, there are multiple keywords, all jargons keyword. I have not heard of all of these things. Karthik, what the hell is this? I have not heard of any of these things. Karthik, could you please explain me? Yes, of course. So if you go to this website, right, basically what do we have in the videos? So in the videos we have several things that's done in the function. So if you just search for function, you'll have all of the function related things, and then let's search with that durable. Okay, so durable function is a type of function. Basically it is to orchestrate the calls. Like you will have multiple small pieces of function, but the entry point is one. Okay, but it calls multiple functions in a way it is organized to call, like it calls 1 and 3 and then 4 and then 2, and then finally it returns the data. So that is what they're saying. So we know orchestration is done in durable function, and they're asking durable timer what it is going to do. So answer is to wait for a period before the next activity. Okay, so this durable timer will do this. Okay, so you should know what is the answer, why it is doing. Okay, now what languages can you use for use to develop? Those who are aware of it, if you think only C#, answer is no. The actual answer is it actually supports multiple languages. Okay, so this one is easy. It's a beginner level question, you should know by now. And let's go here. Which of the following is not a valid trigger? Okay, HTTP trigger. Fine. How do I know this? Okay, let's open up any of this function. So this is our function project. Let's say I wanted to create a new function. Okay, so basically if you try to create a function here, okay, let's say I'm going to add this, it'll ask you what kind of trigger it is. This is what exactly they're asking. So Azure function has these many different types of triggers. Like for example, if you hit something from the browser, that's called HTTP request. Of course you can call it from programmatically also, but that's HTTP. Okay, and we have timer, queue, we have many this. See, we have SQL trigger, we have so many things, right? These could be one of the triggers. So basically just to answer it, so HTTP trigger is valid, timer is valid, queue is valid, SQL is valid. So the answer is none of the above. Okay, now let's go on to the next one. In the Azure Functions premium plan I was talking about, right, what benefit do you get over the consumption plan? Definitely it has more way benefits. So if you look at these options, right, this is wrong. It says no scaling. That's against the premium plan. Always cold start. Do you know what is cold start is? Let's say this function app is deployed, right? If nobody is consuming this for like 20 minutes, this goes to sleep. Okay, it goes to sleep until any of these calls are invoked. If any of these calls are invoked, Microsoft will go and actually wake up. Hey, get up, somebody is actually looking for you. Okay, jokes apart, but really it warms up the service. So it just comes up. So the very first service call when it goes to sleep, right, that's called cold start. So it's there alive sitting, but it's just like idle. It's not responding immediately. The very first time, it'll take time, like a couple of seconds to boot up. That's it. After that, every single call to do any of these things will be super fast. Okay, so that's called cold start, and cold start is by default in consumption plan. So cold start is not in premium plan. It will be always awake. It will make sure it is not sleeping. So it supports it only supports, no, it's wrong. because it supports everything, right? Actual answer is VNet integration and unlimited execution time. You know what is unlimited execution time? Basically, in consumption plan, if a function is running for like 5 seconds or like 8 seconds, I think it will tolerate, but it won't tolerate if it runs for like 30 seconds, 40 seconds. That's not meant for the consumption plan. But for the premium plan, even if function executes for like 1 minute, 2 minute, which is orchestration function, it does a lot of work, it supports. Okay, so only premium plan supports. So that's the answer. Now, next one, which of the following best describes Azure Functions? That's a virtual machine hosted app. Let's go over everything. A serverless compute service to run event-driven code. Event-driven code means our code. An event, HTTP is an event. Timer is an event. Okay. The answer is this. Because none of them are make sense, this is the only answer, because it's a serverless compute. We discussed about it in the initial when we start up this video. So it's a serverless compute service to run the event-driven code. Okay. How can you handle a dependency injection in Azure Functions? Okay, great. So basically, if you look at this code, okay, this is called isolated model. Okay, see, nowadays Microsoft is not supporting non-isolated model, which is called shared worker experience. Okay, so anything, I think it's after 6 or 7 and above, we are currently dealing with 9. They're all like, isolated model. So in an isolated model, worker model, okay, how do you have more control on dependency injection. Okay, it's no more shared, right? So basically you use the host builder. If you come to program.cs, you use the host builder. Okay, before you create an instance, basically you can use all of these things. You can use the configure service to configure the services, logging, and all of those things. You can do it, and that is what is supported. Okay, so in isolated process mode, you use the program.cs with host builder and isolated worker process. Okay, all of the codes are in the repository, so don't worry about it. If you want, just go over the full stack video that I have it. That will give you a wonderful insights of every service that we use. Okay, so answer is this. And next, you know what, if you wanted to write an exam, you don't need to go in practice mode. Just keep clicking the answer, don't show explanation, and just keep proceeding. You can come back and check the explanation later also, just to test yourself how good you are at. Okay, and this one, which file can you use to set the application timeout in Azure Functions? Oh, great. So local.settings.json, which is a lot of people are not aware of that. So if you're running this Azure function in local, when I say local, on your machine, local.settings.json, where you have all of this configuration here, right? That will be loaded. So this is not the one. Function.json and host.json. Let's go to this portal. Okay, there'll be a file called function.json, and let me see. There are 2 files here actually. Okay, so this is the function, and all of these things will be here. So basically, let's go back. So those 2 files, where is that? Where are we talking? Okay, so function.json and host.json are present in the portal, not on your machine. App settings.json is again no more present. So answer should be one of these things. I'm going to show you what will happen if I choose a wrong answer. Okay, let's say I don't know the answer. Okay, so I'm going to explain you anyway, but basically to just answer this, they're saying where do you set up the application timeout. Okay, application timeout means the whole application. Like for example, a call comes in 20 seconds. If it doesn't finish, do you want a timeout? That's the question. So it'll be at the function.json. If answer is wrong, it will tell you how it is. Exactly, I wanted to give this option wrong, because I want to show you a demo of what will happen if I choose a wrong answer, right? I'm keep choosing all right answers. All right, so basically it is done at the host.json, because it's at the Azure function level, right? Function level means it's on the host level itself. Okay, say use the host.json file to configure the global settings like timeout, because it's a global setting. Okay, see, and it also says function timeout is set inside the host.json to define how long the function is allowed to run in the consumption flags. Maximum is 5 minutes. Okay, extendable up to 10 minutes. So default is 5 minutes. Okay, I was giving you an example, right, for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, but that's what it is. All right, next, Which function type is durable function defines the workflow logic. We already discussed about a durable timer, durable stuff, durable function with respect to orchestration. So orchestration means, again, if you go here, if you look at this video, you'll understand this. I have superb example. Orchestration means it comes to an one entry, okay, and then it tells what and all it needs to do to collect the information, and finally it returns. When I say collect the information, it actually calls multiple Azure functions, and that can be invoked only via the main entry point, and that's called orchestration. So durable function, remember, durable functions are for orchestration. Okay, all right. And the next one, so which attribute is used to bind a method parameter to the incoming HTTP request in the Azure HTTP trigger function? So if you look at these options, right, see, from service, if you have seen my video, that's part of a CQRS, where you can directly say which function needs to be invoked. Okay, that's again an attribute. From body is to read the JSON content that's coming in HTTP post request body. HTTP trigger and function name. Function name is to tell what is the name of the function. So the actual answer is HTTP trigger. But before I show you this, let me explain you what it is. I again open up this, I go to any of this function, and if you look at this, this is the function, this is the function name, and we are talking about this method parameter that defines that this is an HTTP trigger. See, this is HTTP trigger. Okay, if we have another trigger like timer trigger, like for example timer, you see this, the incoming method parameter has the trigger type timer trigger. So to answer this question, answer is this. Okay, that's how you should articulate. Like, you can tell by your own. Nobody is going to ask you any hard and fast predefined set of answers. No, trust me, these days nobody cares about it. Okay, they will always analyze whether you have knowledge or not. Based on how you respond, they will easily find out. So make sure you practice and you understand all of these things. Now let's move on to how do you reference the secrets from the Azure Key Vault in Azure Functions. Okay, there are multiple jargons here again. Azure Key Vault is a separate concept. Just to give a high level, only for this question context. Okay, I'm gonna explain you what it is. Okay, for example, this is Azure Functions, right? So what I have here, local settings, I have the connection string, I have so many important things, right? Keys and all. I wanted to secure all of this important stuff, like, exactly all this DB context, this key for the SendGrid, all of those things I wanted to secure. I can store it in Azure Key Vault under the keys, but Azure App Service needs to access that, right? So what happens in Azure function is, like, for example, let's go to function. Again, like I said, let's repeat one more time here. Local.settings.json will never ever be deployed to the Azure portal. Remember that, which means all of those settings needs to come under the Azure function, under settings, under environmental variable. You will place these here. You see this email notification URL, authentication, SendGrid API key, right? All of those things are configured here. Okay. Now the problem is, if you have the value here, it's okay, you can configure here. The question is, if you have it in Key Vault, how this Azure function will access? There's a special way to access. Let's call this one. So those who have seen this Azure Key Vault, again, you can come here and say Key Vault. A lot of videos, okay, important videos, unique videos. So you can come and watch this. This concept is also explained. So there's a concept like @Microsoft.Key Vault and then followed by the URL of the key. If you use this like this, okay, so let me open up this example. See, it will tell you how it works. Let's go over here. Let me show you how things work. See, it will be like this, right? @key, and then this is nothing but the string. So probably it will look like this. See, Microsoft.Key Vault, secret URI followed by the URI. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, you can use like this so that this one can access the key from here, provided the managed identity for this needs to be given access to access the Key Vault's key. Again, if you want to know more about managed identity and service principle, you come here and say managed identity. Everything is there. All right, let's move on to the next one. What is the advantage of using premium plan? We already discussed premium plan has a lot of important stuff. So we already discussed it has the integration and no cold start, right? That's the answer. Okay, the next one and the last one. Which trigger is used to start a durable function orchestration manually via HTTP? How do you start it manually? Timer, you can't start, it's not in your control. Queue, based on the message sent to the queue, read by the queue. Queue trigger, you can't use it. Event grid, same thing. Answer is HTTP trigger. So if you come to the last page, it will tell you what kind of difficulty questions that we managed here. All right, so and then you can just honestly come and tell your feedback. How was the interview that I was trying to present you? Did you understand the concept? If you face any issues or anything that you wanted to really honestly tell to me, so which can make me to improve in upcoming videos, I'll be very grateful for you. All right, so I will say good so far, and I will say finish the exam. It does. You can go here, come all the way through. Okay, so 93, we got one wrong, right? That's why. All right, so this was wrong. How do I check that? If I come to user exam and if I go here in the practice mode, all right, so it tells everything. I can just explain the answer. You can't change it because you're done with the exam. Okay, so that's how it is. But you can actually review whatever you did. Okay, so you can keep reviewing, and then that's how you learn it. Okay, all right. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, just hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, share this with your friends and in the social media. And if you have any questions, do let me know in the comment section. Stay tuned for more videos and join the Telegram group for more lively chat. And I'll see you in the next video. Hello friends, welcome back. In this video, I will walk you through some important questions that can come up in your interview, and we are going to take a look at the topic of RBAC, Azure RBAC, role-based access control. Okay, alright, so without delay, come let's get started. It'll be interesting and short and crispy with the answers. Alright, the very first question they will always ask is what is RBAC in Azure? We know RBAC stands for Role-Based Access Control, and it is an authorization system that defines granular access permission for the users, group, applications at a different scope within the Azure resource. Basically, we are talking about three things. You should always remember who, what, where. Okay, that's how you should remember. Who means it's whether user groups or managed identity, and then where means at what level you're defining. It's a resource level or resource group or subscription level or at the management group level. Okay, that's what called where. And what is nothing but the permission. And then the last one is the what is nothing but the permissions, right? To what permission you're defining in the role. Okay, or you're choosing custom role or inbuilt role, what is that permission? That is what RBAC is all about. Okay, now the next one is what are the three main components of RBAC in Azure? I just explained you the three important things. So the three main components of this RBACs are role assignment, and role definitions, right? Role defines a set of permission. Let's say you wanted to define the permission defines only that the user or anybody who has been assigned with this role will have only access to the storage account, right? That's what the role definition. Role assignment is to whom you're assigning, to users or the groups or where. What is that, right? And then the last one is the permission. Okay, and the role definition defines the permission. So you should always remember who, what, where. Alright, the next one is how do you assign a role to a user or a group in Azure? We saw in the video how we did that. So you can assign a role to a user or a group in Azure by creating a role assignment and specifying the user or a group, the role and the scope. Okay, so if you remember in the video I showed you, we will be going inside the access control, which is the IAM, right? And then you will define a role, or you pick up the role and then you start selecting whether it's a user or a group or a managed identity, and then you assign it, right? That's how it has been done. All right, the next one is what are the inbuilt roles in Azure RBAC? See, Azure RBAC has more than 525, I think 526 inbuilt roles are available. Okay, everything is like much granular level, and most likely you'll end up choosing the existing one itself unless it is really required for a custom role to be created. But anyway, so basically there are several inbuilt roles. That's what it says. Azure RBAC provides several built-in roles with predefined set of permissions such as owner, contributor, reader, etc, etc. So you can either choose that, and that's how you use the inbuilt roles. So how do you create custom roles in Azure RBAC? You remember in the video like how I'm showing here. I showed you can go and select add custom role or create custom role, and then that's where you start with. You either start with picking up the existing JSON or clone an existing role, or start from scratch. You give the name, description, and then you assign the action, not action, data action, not data action, and then you assign to the assignable scope, and that's it, right? You'll be able to do that. And not only that, you'll be able to assign it using the CLI and PowerShell as well. All right, so I think most of the important things has been covered, and if you have anything come across with RBAC, do let me know in the comment section. I will be happy to put you more questions for the RBAC, but so I suggest you to go through the video that has been given in the description that will tell you the complete concept of RBAC and the live demo of complete RBAC system. Okay. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Do like this video and subscribe to my channel if you have not done so far, and share this with your friends. If you have any questions, to write me in the comment section and I'll be happy to help you. I'll see you in the next video guys. Hello friends, welcome back. In this video, I will be covering some important interview questions that is targeted for managed identity in Azure. Okay, so let's understand those concepts and I'll explain you how you can shortly answer it. So without delay, come let's get started. Alright, so it is possible that someone can ask you what is managed identity in Azure, right? The simplest answer that you can answer is Azure Managed Identity is a feature that provides an identity for Azure resources to authenticate with Azure AD without needing to manage credential explicitly. Alright, so anyone can read this, right? So let's understand what is it. Basically, you have Azure resources, right? Somebody is going to represent that resource, and that somebody will have access to a particular resource. And that managed identity is called somebody. Okay, that somebody will get have some role or some permissions, right? And then they represent a function or a web app. All right, so that somebody will have that permission, right? They will be representing a web application or a function, and then based on the permission, that function or the web application itself can access that resource. There is no credential in between these concepts. That's why it's called credential-less managed identity. All right, now the next thing that they can ask you is, how do you create a managed identity for a Azure resource? You can create a managed identity for an Azure resource. Basically, it could be any resource, function, web app, VM, or anything. Either you can use through Portal, CLI, or the PowerShell, and also resource manager template. What are the different types of managed identity? If you remember in the video where I talked about managed identity, the managed identity of two types: system assigned and user assigned. All right, user assigned is nothing but that we create a managed identity and then we assign some permission to it, and that user assigned managed identity can be used for more than one resource. However, system identity is nothing but an identity behind the scene created for a given resource. In this case, you saw we created a system identity on the Azure web app. Okay, and then that identity now have access to Key Vault or anything that we will be able to provide the permission. So that's a two type, right? That's what you have to remember. And one more thing, very important in interview: system assigned identity is one-to-one. It's assigned one. It's created only for that resource, and it's meant only for that resource. You cannot use that for anything else. Okay, that's very important. User assigned is nothing like the system assigned. You can reuse that for more than one resource. Alright, so how does this managed identity provide authentication? Have you ever wondered how that happens behind the scenes? So basically what it does is, the moment you create it, it obtains an access token from the Azure AD. AD means that Active Directory, and now it's called Microsoft Entra ID, and that can be used to authenticate against the request made by the Azure resource to the other services, right? That's how it does, and then it's completely managed by the Azure. We don't manage anything. Azure will manage. That's what will happen behind the scene. Okay, that's why there is no credential behind the scene. It will be all done by the Azure AD. Now, how does this Azure managed identity improve the security? So like we spoke about these many times, right? There is no explicit credentials maintained here. It's just the permission that identity will have, which will have access to the resource within the Azure, right? Which means there is no exposure of credential. There is no one can sneak in and do anything about it. All right, everything is within the Azure. So that's why the security is more improved in this case. Okay, all right, so these are the important questions that it can arise, and I will give you this video link. Take a look at this video. It's just 4 minutes, less than 5 minutes. I will give you a complete managed identity demo video, right? Please take a look at this video. It's less than 5 minutes. It's very easy, and understanding of this concept is important if you're targeting for a cloud engineer role, and it's good for your practice as well as for the interview. All right, I hope you enjoy this video, guys, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Do subscribe to my channel if you have not done so far, and then if you have any questions, write it in the comment section. I will see you in a very interesting video next. Hello friends, welcome back. Ready to conquer your Azure App Service interview? We are diving into 10 plus crucial questions about deploying and scaling the application in Azure, breaking down the concepts and helping you to choose the right one, so you can explain it confidently and ace that interview. So come, with the delay, let's get started. Alright, so if you come to the channel video and search for interview, you'll always get a lot of important interview related videos. Alright, so in this video, we will specifically focus on Azure App Services. Now, this is the website that we were building in the last full stack development video series. I'm going to use that to go over important questions today. And if you go under the videos, you can still search for interviews here, and not only that, app service, if you search, all the app service related videos are also here. But always, I will always recap for a few minutes, and then we dive into the real-time questions and scenarios. Okay, first of all, if you log into portal.azure.com and search for web app, you will find like this: app services and web app. Actually, you can click on this and start creating the web app. Now, if you have already created the web app like this is one of the web app that I created, Azure App Service web app. That's why it says, web app. So if I go under settings, under configuration, basically it will tell whatever I configured. I choose .NET, .NET 9, and all the other settings here. Okay, so every single settings that is here is what you have chosen when you started to create a web app. Now, how many of you honestly know what is happening behind the scene when we call as web app? That is what I'm going to first explain you. That will help to focus on the concept and even answer yourself. Now, I'm on my mission, which is Windows 11, and that's a home edition. It's not a server OS. Okay, so this is an operating system from Microsoft, and this is not a server OS. When we talk about server OS, it is Windows Server and Linux services, right? So both are two different OS, but they are all services. Now, if I go and search for IIS, Internet Information Service, if I open this, because I've installed this in Windows, this is opening here. So basically, what will happen is the code that we build, right? The code that we build is basically deployed under a server like this, like let's say Windows Server. In Windows Server, there will be some website which we don't need to, worry about like this, right? There will be some website. You can create multiple website. Under the website, there will be multiple apps. Let's say our app name is Smart Certify API. Okay, just for sake of argument, the deployed code will be like pointing to somewhere like this. Okay, this is not the real thing, but I'm just showing you. Let's say this is pointing to some places, and there will be an app pull. Let's not go inside this, deep inside this technical stuff. Let's say I have an app like this. So when you configure and deploy these kind of configurations, what will happen? So when you hit the URL, Microsoft will know where this has to go, and it will route this, and request will go here. Okay, this is what is happening at a very high level Okay, your application code is here, and when you hit your URL, for example, when I hit this URL, it knows where to go and which code to invoke. Okay, now this is what is happening in Azure Web App Service. So App Service is nothing but, in the same concept, they will allocate how much of memory this application, this app can use, after how long it can shut down. All of those are called App Service plan. The plan pays a price, starting from the free version till to the extremely isolated version where the server itself is yours. You pay for the price. Okay, so we hosted on free version. This version is free, which means somewhere in a virtual machine in Microsoft infrastructure, my code is deployed. I don't need to worry about it. After 1 hour, after 1 GB of memory, this code will shut down automatically because it's under a free app service. Okay, this is very basic. Now, based on this, and if you want more information about this, just take a look at any of the app services video. We would have started from first till end. Okay, so based on this little bit concept, or brush upping, or I would say we brushed up a little bit on the concept, let's dive into the questions and I will explain you as we progress. So I logged into my this website. If I go under course, there are many courses and we are dealing with Azure here. If I do this, we are talking about Azure App Service. I'm going to start the test. If you have already seen my previous video, how we go through it, I welcome to give your feedback on how you felt, how useful it was. Okay, that will always help me and motivate me to present better and better videos and contents that will be useful for your life, that will be useful for your work. Alright, I'm gonna choose 10. Let's go over 10, and I'm gonna be in the practice mode, and let's start the test. Now, as I progress, I will explain you. Okay, so let's say, what is the first question? Imagine this website is an interviewer. Okay, so interviewer is asking, what is the purpose of SCM site and Azure App Service? So if we don't know what it is, then that's takes us more tricky to answer. Okay, so those who are not aware of this concepts itself, right? Let me first explain you. So in Azure App Service, the SCM, that's also called Source Control Management Service, is a deployment and diagnostic endpoint provided for every app service app. Okay, so that will be hosted like this. For example, in this case, okay, it will be like this. So in our case, it is going to be, let's just go and see how things works, right? So for example, so imagine this, your site name .scm.azurewebsites.net. So that is what is called source control management. So what it is doing, this service runs alongside your application and provides a number of advanced tool and APIs for managing and debugging your app. Okay, so that's mainly for managing and debugging app. So in short, right, the same service is actually powered by the Kudo. That's the engine behind the Git deployment in Azure App Service. Okay, so basically this is used for the deployment and diagnostic endpoints. Okay, so based on what I said, the answer is this. How can we verify this? We can do this, and basically it will tell you the short answer. SEM, which is in term, it's Kudo, that's an engine. It's for deployment log and Git integration and debug console. Okay, so for the more information, it is here. Let's move on to the second one. Alright, the next question is, what Azure feature can restrict the access to your app services from certain IP? So what it is basically saying is, if I wanted to restrict this access, like for example, I wanted to restrict, okay, only 5 people which are specifically from these IPs can access this website. If anybody else accesses this website over the internet, I don't allow them. Where can I do all of those settings? That is what the question is. So as the question is also giving us a hint, basically there is something called access restrictions. See, none of the other things will match. App Insights are logging for use for logging. Service Bus is a separate service. Scale setting is something related to scaling the app and up and down. Okay, so access restriction is the correct answer. All right, see, use access restriction to allow or block specific IPs or even the virtual networks, VNets. Let's move on to the next one. How can your Azure app How can your Azure web app securely access Key Vault without storing secrets in code? Alright, you see this in our website here. Okay, if I go inside this environment or maybe environment variable, okay, if I go inside environment variable, the connection string and all of those things can be configured here. See, I can show my value here, but I don't want it to show this value here. I wanted to keep this value in the Key Vault, and how this Azure App Service can access that. That is what the question is. So when we talk about a question, you should understand what they are referring to. Not only this, right? Anywhere here, even if any of the settings that you wanted to take it from the the Key Vault, what will you do? That's the question. And now let's go over it. Username and password in the code, that's really bad. Hard coding, not hard coding the secret in the app settings, which means in your project itself you can hard code it. Use system assigned manage identity and use FTP to upload a certificate. Definitely this is wrong. This is the right answer. So how am I saying this? See, this app has an identity. Okay, how do I know? If I every single service, right, will have an identity. So if you enable this identity and give access to the Azure Key Vault permissions using RBAC, then the Key Vault will allow requests coming from here to access the key. That is what it is. So this is the right answer. Okay, and don't worry if you don't know any concept, you just search with the keyword, you'll find it. Manage identity versus service principal. See, Azure Key Vault security guide, manage identity for Azure Web App Secrets. Great, we already have a demo. Okay, so don't hesitate to go and view such videos. And let's go on to the next one. Which of the following plans supports the auto scale and staging slot? See, auto scaling means let's say this website, let's say right now 100 people, 1000 people hit this website, it might support. What happens if 100,000 requests comes per second? The site will crash. When a traffic is coming too much, how will you auto scale? When I say auto scale, technically I'll tell you what will happen. Right now there is only one app deployed, right? Microsoft will actually mimic the same thing on a different virtual machine, which means 2 instances will come, 3 instance, 4 instance, like that. Number of instances. It's called scaling up. Scaling down means number of instances reduced. Okay, remember, scaling down means we are reducing the instance, not the power of the power of the application. Like, we don't increase the power of the system where this is deployed. Okay, so now based on that, let's go to this question. If you go try creating a plan, the plan will tell what you have privileges. For example, the plan that I have is a free tier. How do I know? If you go to overview, here itself it will tell me what plan I have, or maybe under settings, under properties. So where can I see? Under either it is on overview, or just scroll down, something called app service. See my current app service plan. I am on F1 0 count, meaning I cannot scale out, because for free version, why do they give that? So there are instance, right? How many instance can be given? Based on the plan only it will come. Free tier, definitely no, because they don't support. Basic tier, shared tier, standard tier. This is the one which will have the auto scaling and deployment slot. Deployment slot means we will make a different video for explaining deployment slot. It's basically you deploy to one version, you test it out, and then you swap the code. So there will be 0 downtime in the production. Okay, that is what it is. All right. How do you enable managed identity for a Azure web app? Okay, so let's go to portal. Let's open up any one of our web app. In the left hand side under settings, there's something called identity. Okay, under identity there are two identities, system assigned and user assigned. System assigned means if you switch it on and save, there will be a unique ID that will tell who that ID is. So this object ID represents this app. So because this is enabled like this is how you enable it. Okay, and then this can be now used to give permission. For example, in the key vault question that we were talking about, right, you have to enable this, go to the key vault and search for this and give permission. So the key vault will know who is this, what permission it has. So that is what it is, right? So as we go through the question, you're also understanding concept where what you're doing. Great. So let's go here. So according to what I explained, the answer is enabling it in web apps identity plate. None of them are correct. Okay, the short answer and the explanation is here, and I already explained you. Let's go on to the next one. Which method is best for a web app to connect to a Azure SQL database securely without a connection string or password? Great. See, like I showed you already, if I go to this environment settings, I have a connection string where I have placed the connection string here. The question is, you should not do it. How will you protect it? Which method is best for the web app to connect to the Azure SQL database, which is a very common thing if you're using Azure or cloud, securely without a connection string and a password. So what it means is basically, if I go here, this one has some username password, right? So without username password, how can this app connects to the SQL server? Is that possible? It's possible. That's called use managed identity and Azure AD authentication. So basically, SQL server is an app service. SQL service is a service in Azure. Okay, web app is a service. Web app is connecting to the database, and we just need to give the right permission. So for example, this is the answer. Let's see the explanation. Okay, see, use manage entity. This is the right one. So how you can enable this AD? Azure AD means Azure Active Directory Authentication for SQL database, and then you can assign the role based on this identity. Again, let's go over quickly. Identity, I have this one. We know who he is. We will enable the Azure AD authentication for the SQL database. We go to SQL Server and database and we do this, and then we assign this role for this particular identity. Maybe we should make a video. If you still want a video related to what I'm talking about, just put a comment in the video and I will definitely make a video for that. Alright, so that's what it is. Let's move on to the next one. What permission must be granted to the web app manage entity to read a secret from Azure Key Vault? Great. So now we know this identity can be used to go to the Key Vault and give permission. But the question is, what kind of role that you will give? What kind of permission you will give? If it is only for reading, so it clearly says to read a secret. Contributor means it will have rights to delete, update, or on all of these things. Reader is the right one which will read it. We don't need to have any of this thing. See, storage blob data reader means it's related to the storage account. Oh, so I was wrong. Okay, I totally forgot this. Alright, so if I'm wrong, this is what will happen. I just want to show you what am I going to do if I go wrong. So reader is not the right answer. The right answer is Key Vault secret user. That will give us the required permission to read the secret, because it's okay. So why it is wrong? Reader is correct, but reader is basically, it will read not just secret, everything else, certificate, everything. But the question was to read only the secret. So that's why answer is Key Vault secret user. Okay, so that will allow us to give the read permission, and here is why it is. Alright, so don't worry if you are wrong. I'm gonna come and take your test. If you're gonna wrong, it will be like this. Okay, it will tell you why wrong, what is right. Let's move on to the next one. What is Azure App Service primarily used for? So like I said, this is the app service. Why are we using it? Hosting just the static files? Not really, right? Hosting virtual machines? Definitely wrong. We are not hosting any virtual machines under the Azure App Service. Running container orchestration? No. This is also wrong. This is related to Docker. The right answer is this. We can host web app, REST APIs, mobile backends, anything. All of these things are right. So that's the right answer. Okay, so there's an explanation here, there's an answer here. Let's move on to the next one. How do you configure CI/CD for Azure App Service? So let's go over using Azure CLI only, not really, only via FTP, not through Azure DevOps, GitHub Action and Git integration. So they're talking about GitHub, where we will go to a particular repository like this. Let's say let's take any example. Okay, so let's go to this one. Okay, there is something called action. So GitHub action means this one. Okay, so you can use that, and you can go to dev.azure.com/ your organization name. We also had videos like that. So from there also you can set up the CI/CD pipeline, right? So if I go to any of this existing one and go to pipelines, I can see all the build pipelines and release pipelines that talks and that builds and basically deploys the code to the app service. Okay, so this is the right answer. Okay, all right. Which feature allows your app service to integrate with private resources like SQL Server inside your VNet? I think this is an advanced question, but it's good to know. Don't worry about it if you are not aware of this. Okay, so basically it says SQL Server inside a VNet. How will you allow this app service to integrate, the integration part? Okay, so we will have the VNet integration. That's the one which is going to help us. Okay, now if I go next, we are on the last one. See, we have most of them are intermediate, and if you're beginner level, come here and honestly give what you liked, what you don't like, or what you expect more. Okay, so that is what you're gonna honestly tell here. I'm gonna finish the exam, but if I go here and go to the last one, I can see what was wrong. One question was wrong, that's why 90% this is wrong. But can I go over it? Yes, of course you can go over it. Come here, if you're in practice mode, click here and you can expand this and you can see what was right, what was wrong. See, you can go over everything. Okay, so you can actually go over everything, and that's how you find what you did. Okay, all right, so this video I hope you all enjoyed and you learned something about Azure App Service and other stuff. In the next video I will make another attempt to see whether we get new questions. All right, so that is what we're going to do. And if you like this video, just hit that like button, and if you want anything specific video, just let me know in the comment section and share this with your friends. If you're not subscribed, subscribe and stay tuned. I will see you in the next. Thank you. Bye bye. Hello friends, welcome back. Want to truly understand the Azure App Service for your interview, not just memorizing the answer? Join us as we explore the essential deployment, scaling, and configuration concepts through our 10+ targeted questions, providing concise explanation and guiding you to the best response for any interviewer. So without delay, come let's get started. Alright my friends, in the previous video, we saw Azure App Service related concepts and 10 questions, and this video is the second part. Let's try to cover another 10 questions. Okay, we never know what questions is going to come for you. Okay, so let's prepare for it. And if you have not seen that video, I have given that in the description and you can take a look. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go to this website and go to course. Of course, I have to log in. Go to course, go and click on Azure, show only available one, and here is what we're going to start the test. I'm going to pick up 10 questions. I'm going to start and I'm hoping we will get new questions. Okay, the very first question. Okay, I think we might have seen this question, but let's recap. So it is asking, okay, there is a web app. Okay, the web app, how can it access the Azure Key Vault without anything added in your code or in the config file? So basically, Key Vault is a service, Azure Web App is a service, and this service, if you go under settings, under identity, you will enable the identity called system identity. It will give you a unique value that represents this one. So basically, this one, we can go to the Key Vault and assign some role for this specific object. That means this app now has access to the Key Vault securely without any password. That is what the question is. So use a system assigned managed identity. If you want more details about this, go to YouTube channel, my channel, and then go and search for a Key Vault. Okay, and then you will get everything here. Or you can go to this website, search for identity. You will exactly get what I'm talking about. This video, the one that I'm highlighting. Okay, so let's take a look at the answer. Yes, so this is the answer. So there's a short answer for your question and explanation. In case if you want to articulate by yourself, feel free to read about this. Next, which Azure feature can restrict access to your app service from certain IPs? I believe we got this question also. None of the other than this access restriction, none of them applies because app insights is for the log, service bus is for a service, a separate service, scale settings is for scaling up the app. So that's the answer. Next one. What is the function of application settings and connection strings in Azure App Service? Great. This question is new. Let's go back to this and go to overview. They're talking about two things. Under settings, if you come to configuration, the application configuration will come here. But recently they changed those concepts that we were referring to under the environment variable. There's something called app settings. There's something called connection string. So connection string is nothing but, so if you go to any of the application like this, okay, if I go here, you see this, there's a separate section called connection string. Okay, this is a section under the configuration. So they are referring to this section. You might have, 4 different DB context, like different names, but any 4 different properties under connection string. Anything that comes under connection string, pay attention, anything that comes under a particular connection string name, no spelling changes, same exactly. That comes under here. You cannot keep the DB connection outside, which is app settings here. You can put it, but it's not going to read. Okay. So remember, anything that comes under a particular section called connection string will go here, and anything other than this, all of the other stuff, right? This one, basically this one belongs to this one, right? So that comes under app settings. Here, you can put the value here. So what is the question? What is the function of application settings and connection string in Azure App Service? So why are we using that? To securely manage apps configuration. That's the right answer. Okay, I explained you why, and based on that you can easily know why this is the answer. Now, how can you implement a blue-green deployment in App Service? Great, this is new for me actually, to be very honest. Alright, so this one is a tricky question. Basically what they're saying is, let's say this is only my production side. Production means public facing, customer facing side where I earn money. Okay, it's a business side, somebody is doing some business. Okay, what they're saying is, how will you properly deploy your code to the production without any problem? Okay, that's what they're saying. So basically there is something called deployment slots. What is that? Like we talked about this one, right? So there will be another one. Okay, like this another one. That's called, let's say, staging, and this is production. This is the main site where customers are coming. So what will happen is, staging slot, we will deploy our new code to the staging, and the Azure will start allowing us to test this. Once this is good, we can swap the content. If we swap the content, until the contents are swapped, requests are properly handled by the Microsoft Azure, there will be zero downtime, there will be zero requests that's getting failed. So coming back to this question, they are nothing but the deployment slots. Okay, so the answer here, as it is loading, I don't know why it's taking time. So according to what I explained, this is the right answer. Okay, why it is, see, deploying to a staging slot verify it works, and then swap it to the production to achieve zero downtime and staged release. In case something is wrong, you don't need to switch. Okay, that's a safe way of doing. Now, how can you monitor the performance and logs for Azure App Service? You can do in different ways, but let's go through the question and choices. Right, only using FTP logs, that's wrong. That's not the only case. Using Azure Application Insight should be the right one because it has all the logs. Using DevTool console, that's wrong because that is something related to the browser. Monitor trap in Azure portal only. No, that's again only for a particular time that you can monitor. So this is the right answer. If you know about this, let me know in the comment. If you don't know, go to this and search for application app insights. You will get the videos about this. Okay, now let's go back. See, this is the right answer. Next, which method is best for a web app to connect to an Azure SQL database securely? Alright, so this question we already saw, but let's quickly go over recap. So basically they're saying in the SQL connection string. So if I go to this, and basically this will have connection string which will have username and password. They're saying you should not use username and password in your connection string itself. But how will you securely connect? Basically, there's something configuration that you can do, like you can enable the Azure AD authentication on the SQL Server database. And then as we spoke already, if you go under the identity, based on this identity, right, this one represents this website, right? So you can give permission for that identity. That way that will be allowed to access the database. So probably if you require such video, just let me know in the comment section. I'm happy to work on it and I will give you such videos. All right, now let's go on to the next one. Oops, did I go very fast? No. Alright, so how does Azure App Service support custom domain and HTTPS? See, even if it is free service, if I go here and let's go back here, see, by default SSL certificate is there. Okay, it's already HTTPS only. Okay, so we already have one answer. Let's go over this. Custom domain. Custom domain means basically, see, this is what Azure is giving me, right? I don't want to give this as a name to public. They don't want to type like this. Instead, imagine this, right? Learn, I want like this. I want like this. learnsmartcoding.com, that's my domain name. And if I go under video, I should see this page. How will I do that? How will I map this one to that, to this one, right? How do I do that? That's what the question is. Let's go here. So basically, you can add the custom DNS configuration that will allow us to do this. So the right answer is supports the custom domain. The app server supports the custom domain and free managed certificate. Managed certificate is nothing but SSL. So this is the right answer. So if you choose something wrong, it will show like this, but don't worry, right? The answer is this. Now, how do you configure CI/CD for Azure App Service? We already spoke about it. If you go inside any of the repository in github.com under action, that's where you configure, or you can also go to dev.azure.com/your-organization. We have videos about it. If you go to pipelines, that is called build pipelines. Release is called release pipelines. You can use any of these things to deploy to configure the CI/CD. To configure the CI/CD. So this is the right answer. Next one. What permission must be granted to a web app's managed identity to read a secret from the Key Vault? Again, we got this question earlier. So I'm gonna choose this Key Vault secret user, not the reader. Reader, last time it was wrong because reader means not just secret. It will read certificate, everything. But we want only this one. Okay. Now the last one. How can you ensure zero downtime deployment for Azure App Service? Like zero downtime deployment means this: if this is main website, without affecting that, it should be deployed with your new code. So there is something called deployment slot, and that is what will help us. And we spoke about deployment slot in our video. So that's what the answer is. I go next. I hope you give the honest feedback here. And then I go here. I can actually go and view this. If everything is right, wrong, it will tell us. And if I wanted to go and see the practice mode, I can always go like this and see it. So you have all the suggested videos here, You can go here, you can find the videos here. Just search with some keyword, you will find it. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and share this with your friends and colleagues and in your social media. Stay tuned. I will see you in the next video. Hello friends, welcome back. Want to truly understand the Azure Storage Account for your interview, not just to memorize the answers? Join us as we explore the essential storage types, access tiers, and security concepts through our 10+ targeted questions that provides the concise explanation and also guiding you to the best response for any interviewers. So without delay, come let's get started. We have been making a lot of interview videos, as a lot of you are asking about it. So if you go to the channel and search for interviews, you will find all of the latest videos here. .NET videos are here, EF course, everything is here. Okay, I will also make a playlist. I think there's already a playlist, and the playlist will tell you here these two things, right? Mastering the Azure related videos are here, interviews related to the .NET core is here, Angular interview questions are here. Alright, everything is here that will help you to boost your interview. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this website. Okay, so this website, I logged in and I go to course, and if you wonder what is this website, this was our full stack development video series. We recently completed it. It has a lot of services and a lot of concepts implemented. Okay, so feel free to take a look at the full stack video as well if you're new to this channel. And we are going to focus on Azure and interview questions that are storage account. There are 26 questions. I'm going to choose 15 and see what best we get in this one. All right, let's start this. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to choose 15. I'm going to be in the practice mode. If you are aware of what is practice mode, start the question. So as we go through this, I will also explain you the concepts, because that's the whole idea of this interview preparation. I will explain you the concept as we progress, and please try to answer by yourself. If you know the concept, trust me, you can nail it. All right, now what I'm going to do, considering this as an interviewer and I myself as a candidate, I'm going to answer and see how things work. So this is the first question. It's a scenario based question. You want your Azure App Service to upload an image to a private container in the Blob storage. Wow, we have a wonderful real-time example. How can you securely implement this with least privilege? Okay, so basically here, if I go to upload, I can actually upload a file. I can actually upload a file to the Azure App Service. So exactly whatever this question scenario is, we have already implemented it. Okay, uploading. So how do I know? If I go here, you see this effortless and secure image upload to Azure storage container. Okay, if you look at this video, you know how to do it. All right, so that is what they're asking. With the least privilege, how will you do it? Let's go over the options. Enable public access on container. If I enable public access on container, what will happen? So before we go over these options, right, let's go here. Let's go to our portal.azure.com, and I'm going to open up a particular storage account. Okay, and under the storage account, under the status storage, you have these containers and all the other related thing that is related to the storage account. If I go to containers are nothing but kind of a folders. Imagine this as a folder. Okay, so I have two folders, like 3 folders basically, and you can look at this anonymous access level. These two are private, and this is at a blob level, which means I have given access to this image folder and its content to the public. But if you go here, all the images that our users have uploaded, we have 1, 2, 3, excluding me, the 3 more users who have uploaded their image. If I try to see, I cannot see, or you cannot see, even if you get this URL like this. Okay, it's not gonna show. Okay, so it's secure now. Okay, so that is what the private access. So with the least privilege, how will you succeed? Let's go to this question. We can't enable the public access to the containers, which will give access to everyone. That's wrong. use account key in backend code. It's possible, because if you have an account key, you can actually upload it via the backend code. Enable managed identity for the Azure web app and grant storage blob data contributor role, or use a static SAS token for all requests. Okay, this is very confusing, right? Let's understand this. SAS token, SAS token, SAD access signature. Okay, just for security, just for our user security thing, I'm going to open up this image because I know for sure this is my image. Okay, if you go here and click on, so basically what they're saying is, so for this one, right? All right, so what's the very first question? They're asking, how will your Azure App Service can securely upload an image to the private container in the blob storage? How can you securely implement this with the least privilege? So we also have an example here. If you go to this website, go to update profile, I'll be able to upload my image or your image, right? When you log in, it's your image. We can upload that, and actually that goes and sits in the a container here. There is a container under the storage account, and this container is private. I can do that, right? But how it is doing, how this app is doing it, that's what the question is. So the right answer is, you have to enable the managed identity of the web app, which means you go to this web app. For example, we were talking about this web app, which is what is copying. Go under identity. There is a system identity and user assigned identity. Under system identity, you switch it on, get this one. You can actually give access to this one, okay, in the storage account for a particular container. That is what you have to do. Okay, so this is the right answer. So if you wanted to know how this is done, you can actually go and search such a keyword here, or even here, if you go to this website under video, you can search. These kind of videos will tell you how you can do it. Like identity, you can use this and this. Okay, this will tell you how to do that. Now let's go back here and see what is the answer. See, this is what the combination will allow us to do this operation. Okay, now how do you enforce encryption at rest for data in the storage account? Encryption at rest means whatever data that we are storing in the storage account, it has to be encrypted. No one should be able to decrypt it. First of all, for encryption, there's something called encryption key. If you go to the storage account, okay, let's talk about a storage account. Any storage account, by default, you have two options. You can actually use Microsoft managed key or customer managed key. Okay, keys which customer manages will be there in the key vault, and that key will be used to encrypt and decrypt. If you lose the key, you're screwed. Data cannot be decrypted. Even Microsoft cannot do it because it doesn't know what key was used to encrypt it. Okay, so that is what they're asking. So they're saying, how will you enforce the encryption? Okay, now the right answer is, it's always enabled using Microsoft managed key. That's the default value, and let's see whether this answer is correct. This answer is correct. Okay, so by default everything is encrypted, and that uses the Microsoft managed key. If you want to change to your key, yes, it's doable. Okay, now what is the purpose of Azure Storage Queue? Where is that? If I go to storage, under the storage, there's something called queues, right? I think we do not have a video about it. We can make it, but they're asking, what is this used for? To store files in CDN. CDN is content delivery network. No, there's nothing related to storage account. This is wrong answer. To host APIs. No, because web app, Azure App Service web app is the one which hosts the web API. This is not the one. To decouple the components and enable message based communication. To stream the data, it's wrong. This is the right answer, because queues are nothing but it takes a message and somebody else can read the message. Okay, Azure Queue Storage is used to decouple the component using messages. Next one, which tool can you use to visually manage the Azure storage, like blob files, all of these things? What are the tools? You can use Storage Explorer. If you have not seen it, Microsoft Azure Storage Explorer, there is a tool called Storage Explorer. You can connect the tool to your logged in account and it can actually read every single storage and you can actually perform a lot of actions. Okay, so that is what it is saying. So this is one tool which will help us, but all the other things are not related to that. Visual Studio cannot be used, only this is the right answer. Okay, this is a free tool, of course, and we also have a video for that, so don't forget to check it out. How can you restrict access to storage account so that only Azure hosted services like Functions, Azure App Service can access it securely over the private channel? This is a scenario based question. Sometimes you might get an advanced question, but don't get scared. It's a new concept. Don't feel sad if you don't know. All right, it's all about learning and preparing yourself, right? If you're very comfortable always, then we're not going to make it, right? We have to see the challenge. We have to face the challenge. Now, challenges, a lot of new concepts here. Basically, they're saying with the private channel, how can you access the storage account? Okay, how can you restrict the access? Like only particular services should be able to access that. That is what they're asking. Okay, so what we can do is we can use the private endpoint plus VNet integration. So this should be the right answer, which we are going to check, but all the others doesn't match. Cross origin resource sharing. This is related to the one site calling API on another site. This is nothing related to what they're asking about. Enable public access, which means you're like opening the door for everyone. That's also wrong. Add their outbound API to the firewall. Outbound API to the firewall means whichever service will have IP, they're asking to add their IP to our firewall. But let's check what is the answer, and this is the right answer. See, it says you can use the private endpoints to create it, and you can actually use the VNet, and that you can configure it. Then only these which are connected to the VNet will securely privately access this one. That's what they're talking about. Okay, so as long as you can narrate it by your own words, that should be good. Okay, so the next one, have an Azure function that process images uploaded to the Blob storage. Hey, trust me, we have this also. So if you upload an image to the Azure storage, a function which is keep polling the Azure storage can pick it up and start processing. So that is what they're saying. What's the most secure and recommended way to allow access to the Azure storage from the Azure Function app? Wow, that's nice, right? Again, we have talked about this enough. Generating SAS token is wrong. That is not for this purpose. It's a temporary access. That's not this purpose. Storage account key, can you use? You can use, but that's not secure. You're exposing the key. Can I set the blob container to public access? No, you're again opening the door to everyone. The right answer is Azure Function app also will have a managed identity, similar to what we had for for everything it will have. Okay, so that one you can use and you can give permission properly, which is role-based access control, and that should help us to achieve this. Okay, so see, these kind of scenario questions they can easily ask you, and most likely they'll ask you like that only. Okay, they're not going to ask you what is. So just be prepared, understand the question, and you should be able to answer it by yourself. Next is, what is the use of lifecycle management in blob storage? Great, that's a good example. See, what is happening is, if I go to this container, right, I have these images. Now I have a lot of images keep coming. I wanted to do something like, let's say for example, I wanted to archive this after a certain time, or those kind of actions, right? If I want to delete, what should happen? So lifecycle management. Or let's say for example, let me give you a good example. Okay, you keep uploading images and that is processed. Now we don't want that, right? So there should be a business logic that says, hey, after 7 days of an image comes in or a file comes in, archive that. That's a life cycle of a particular file. That is what they're asking. So what is the use of, why are you doing? That's what the question is. Automatically delete or move blobs based on the rules. The rule that I talked about, 7 days rule, right? That's the right answer. See, Lifecycle rules automates the transition or deletion of a blob. Okay. Now, which role must be assigned to allow a function app manage identity to read the blobs? Just to read the blobs, what do you want? Azure app function app is reading from blobs. Understand the question. Function app is reading blobs from the storage account using their identity. Entity means they will tell who they are. It's reading the blobs from the storage account. The right answer is storage blob data reader. Though everything is correct, they're all higher quality, like high privileges. Reader means it will read everything. Owner means you can even delete it. Contributor, you can update it, you can modify it. We don't want all of those things to happen. The Azure Function app should be only allowed to read the blob data. This is the right answer. Okay. Next, how can you monitor and audit which app is accessing the storage account and what operations are being performed? Wow, that's nice. They're asking who does what. How will you know? That's what they're saying. How can you monitor and audit? How can you do all of these actions that is happening here? So there's something called enable diagnostic testing and send logs or analytics lag. Is this correct? Not really. The answer should be enable NSG flow logs, and we're going to check. Sometimes I also will not know some answers. It's not like only you may not know, I may not also know, but sometimes I pretend that I will not know. Okay, and which you will find out, and let me know if you find out that correctly and let me know in the comment section. Now my guess is this one. Why? All the other options are wrong. Azure policy is to set rules at the organization level, not to monitor or audit. DevOps logs are nothing related to what we are talking about here. Diagnostic settings to send the logs to log analytics is basically you're configuring a mechanism where you're directing the logs to log analytics for further processing. Okay, so NSG, network security group flow logs, is the one which will actually monitor and audit, and I will show you this is the right answer. Alright, so I was wrong, I have to admit it. Enabling the diagnostic settings to send logs to log analytics. Let me see what the explanation is. Okay, this is very embarrassing for me. But anyway, I can also go wrong. Alright, that's fine. Azure Storage diagnostic settings allows you to log the read, write, delete operation per identity and send logs to the analytics. Wow, that's nice. See, for example, what they're saying is here, right, in the diagnostic settings, there should be diagnostics here. You can configure this so every single operation that is performed here will be logged and sent to the log analytics. That's what they're saying. So this is the right answer. I'm sorry if you have got this one. This is really wrong answer. All right, let's go to the next one. Which of the following is the most secure way to allow an app to access a storage account? What is a secure way? Again, this is the secured way because none of them are more secure. This is the right secured way. We already spoke about it, so we are gonna go to the next one. Alright, so our next question is, which of the following is true about the user delegation to the shared access signature? So let's go over it. It uses a user credential for access, like it is on behalf of that user it is accessing. So this is the right answer. Let's see. Let's go over the other one. It uses storage account key, doesn't use a storage account key, it doesn't use this, it is not depreciated. Okay, so this is the right answer. Again, I'm saying, though it is showing this one as green, this is the right answer. Okay, I will update the answer correctly. Oh, it's timed up. It just submitted on behalf of me. It's forcing me to submit. Don't worry. If I don't want to submit, let's go here and let's resume wherever we were. Okay, let's go to the question where we were, but don't worry, the answer that is showing as wrong is really wrong. Okay, let's go over to our question. Where was the question? This is the actual right answer. Okay, trust me, I will update this question by the time you take this test. Okay, don't click on this one. This is not the right one. All right, guys, so I instantly updated the right answer. So this is the right answer. This is not the one. Okay. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. So how can you restrict public access to blob storage while still allowing secure access from your app? Right. Great. So what we can do is you can use the shared access signature token or the managed entity. That should give us the restrict the public access. At the same time, you can also access that particular file for a particular period of time, right? That's why shared access signature is there. Okay, so now the third one, the 13th one, how can you monitor and audit operation on Azure Storage? I think we already spoke about it, right? So we were thinking it is NSG. I was thinking about NSG flow, but that's not correct. That's basically this one. So let's see. All right. Next one. What is the main difference between hot, cool, archive, access tier, and blob storage? Okay, so hot means immediately accessible. The faster it access, the more cost. Cool means medium stage. There are actually 4 stages: hot, cool, cooler, and archive, I believe. Okay, there was a 4th stage which they introduced recently. But cool is basically in the middle stage. It's like you can access, but it might take some time, few milliseconds more. Cost is less. Archive means like basically you're putting that in your godown or something, right? Storage location or attic. It takes more time to access it, but then it doesn't disturb you. Low cost. Okay, so that's the main difference. So what is the options? File type, no. Size of the blob, no. Access, frequency, and cost based on what I explained. Okay, so that's the right answer. And by default is hot. Okay, so remember that. Which of the following is not a type of storage provided by the Azure Storage Account? Do we have blob storage? Yes. Do we have file storage? Yes, Azure Files. Do we have SQL storage? Do we have table storage? Let's see. File storage, table, queue, containers. What do we not have? What we not have? MySQL storage. There is no such concept. That's the right answer. So we went through and come here and give the honest feedback. I'm going to submit. I'm going to go over and see how much I scored. 93. One was wrong. This one was wrong, which is fine. Now that's a lesson I will never forget, right? That was not NSG. It was diagnostic logging and log analytics. Okay, I hope you also will remember that. And if I have to go over that exams again, go in preview mode. You can enable this. You can go over what answer you choose and what is the explanation. Okay, so you can always go like that. Okay, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, just hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, share this with your friends in social media, help grow this channel. So stay tuned for more such videos, and if you have some specific videos in mind or content that you are looking for, please let me know in the comment section. Alright, stay tuned guys. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. Hello friends, welcome back. Ready to conquer your Azure Key Vault interview? We are diving into 10 plus crucial questions about managing secrets, keys, and certificate securely in Azure. Breaking down the concepts and helping you to choose the right one so you can explain it confidently and ace the interview. So come, without delay, let's get started. If you're not familiar with Key Vault and if you would like to see how Key Vault works and benefits of the Key Vault, go to my channel. Under the view, search for Key Vault. You'll find all of the important Key Vault related video. And this video is the full video which will cover all of the important concepts with respect to AZ204 certification as well. And there are some .NET Core specific videos are here. You can view those as well. Today what we're going to do is we're going to go to this website, smartcertified-web.azurewebsites.net. That's the full stack development video series we did recently, and using that we are going to do some good demo. And here also, if you go to the videos and search for key, you list down all of the Key Vault related things. So at any point of time, if you want to learn some specific concept, you can come here and click on it and learn it. All right, now I'm going to go to this course and choose .NET, not Azure. Show available videos. I'm going to go to the Key Vault. I'm going to say I want like maybe 15 questions. And let's start the text with the practice mode. So first of all, what is Azure Key Vault used for? Like, this is a very basic beginner level question. If somebody asks you why do you use Key Vault, you should be able to answer it. So key vaults are nothing but a secure place. Vault, right? Have you seen a vault? Yes. So vault is secure. In bank there are vaults, right? Where our not ours, like basically customers' fund and all of those important things will be stored. It's locked. Nobody can just go and take it. Correct? So in Azure there's something called Key Vault they created. That's a service. And they're asking what is this. So is it, let's go over the option. Is that is for hosting the websites? No. Running background tasks? No. Creating virtual machines? No. Storing applications, a secret certificate and encryption key securely. That is the right answer. So you should know what it is, right? Now let's go to the next one. And of course you can go back. If you're in practice mode, after you choose this, if you see what is the short answer, it will tell you is used for securely storing and accessing secret keys and certificate. Okay, so it's a centralized and securely secures the sensitive information to keep it out of the source code and the config file. Why it is, all of those explanations here. Now the next one, let's assume this is an interviewer and we are facing the interview. Okay, so somebody's asking, can you access the key vault over private network? I will let you choose the right answer, but you can guess what it is, right? With the private network, can you access that? It should be possible. And if I'm wrong, it will tell you why. So let's go and see. It's possible. Yes, using the private endpoint, it is possible. You can create a private endpoint in Azure that's specifically for some specific purpose. Everyone cannot use. So those kind of private endpoints are within the organization, within a particular subnet group. Network. So those with that URL, can you access? That's what they're asking. Yes, we can give permission and we can access. See, here is the explanation. You can restrict the access to the key vault by disabling the public access, which means with the public URL, I can disable the access and allowing only through the private endpoint in a VNet, virtual network. Okay, so this boosts the security for the enterprise environment. Okay, all right. The next one. What is the preferred access control method for next one is what is the preferred access control method for enterprise scale key vault usage? So basically what they're saying is enterprise means a big company, right? For a big companies, they are scaling the key vault usage. What is the good or the preferred access control method? How can you control who can access that? That's what they're asking. Can we create access policies? Can we have manual key sharing? Definitely no. You can rule out this. FTP? No. Role-based access control? Yes. Actually, this and this is supported, but this one should be the right one because role-based access control means we can even give permissions like a role. Okay, if it is a reader role, if you assign that to somebody or even to manage identity, only only read access will be there. If it is for specific secret reader, it will allow access only for the reading the secrets. Let's take a look. See, that's the right answer. RBAC is more flexible and aligns with Azure wide permission. Though this is possible, but it will be more tough than the RBAC. So RBAC is preferred. Even if you try to go to portal and try creating, right, at the end it will ask you maybe access level. You see this? There are two walls: access policy and role-based access control, and see recommended. Why? It has more granular level permissions we can give. That's why. So that's the reason why I said this and this is correct, but this is right answer. Okay. All right. The next one is what are key vault reference in app service and how do they work? See, I think in one of the app service related video I was talking about, right? So imagine this website. Okay, so this website internally, let's say it uses database connection string or some SendGrid keys and all of those things, right? What they're saying, they're asking us based on this question, what they're asking us, hey, without giving the values, if you have your values in Key Vault, With Key Vault reference, how can you access it? Is it possible? That's what they're asking. And we actually have such videos here. Okay, so let's say, see, we have a video, I told you already, Key Vault reference. This video tells about the Key Vault reference. So basically, you have all of the concepts in my channel. So don't worry. If you wanted to read about something, learn about something, a live example, there is a video. Okay, so the options are, we can refer the Key Vault URI. Okay. And the second one is Key Vault reference allow you to use Key Vault secret directly in application setting via specific syntax. This is the right answer. Okay. See, it will tell you why. So this is the place where it is asking us to go. See, look at this. This is our secret URI. Okay, this is the URI. Can I use this directly? No. But this is syntax @Microsoft.keyvault secret URI is equal to that URI. If you use this fully in any of the app settings, for example, any of the app, if you go here, okay, whatever I copied, right? If I go to environment variable, let's say I have a connection string. Okay, let's imagine I have a connection string, one more connection string. Okay, imagine this. I can give like this, which means basically it is going, see, if I give like this, right, I can use this, and basically it knows how to contact it and read the value during the runtime from the web app. That is what they're asking. That's why this is the right answer. Okay, all right. The next one is, which of the following is a benefit of Key Vault reference in App Service? How do it benefits in App Service? App resets are required after each change? No. Secrets are injected at runtime without code change. Secret must be manually copied? No. Only works with Java apps? No. So this should be the right answer because they are injected. Like I just explained you, the value stored in this key, in the secret, is injected, and that will be taken for this connection string. Okay, so this is the right answer, and you always have a short answer and the explanation given in this one. Okay, you just need to be in the practice mode and say so explanation. It will show you how you should answer it. And then the next one, what is a private endpoint in the context of Azure Key Vault? Again, for example, okay, what did we do? We were talking that this is the Key Vault, right? This is the URL. They're asking, this one is public because you see this vault.azure.net is Microsoft owned website. Under that there is your Key Vault name. So this is public. I can access it whether you have permission or not, but this URL is still accessible. You might get a 403, 401, that's okay, but that's a public endpoint. Question here is, what is a private endpoint in the context of Azure Key Vault? So let's go over it. An API to delete secret? No, it's nothing related to what the question is. A user login endpoint? No. A firewall settings? No. It's basically a virtual network integration to Azure Key Vault. So if you have a private endpoint which is not accessible from outside, you can configure it from your application to talk to the Key Vault. So the URL will be accessible only the private URL is accessible only within the Azure network. Okay, so this is the answer. I can explain this. See, all right. The next one is, which logging mechanism allows monitoring Key Vault usage? Can you use the application insights? Application insights are for application. SQL logs is for SQL logging, Azure SQL, right? Key Vault email alerts? No. The actual answer is this. Diagnostic setting to log the analytics event hub storage. So basically every single access to the Key Vault can be recorded for the auditing purpose. Okay, and it will actually send all of those information to the log analytics workspace. Okay, so that's why this is the answer. How can you automate secret rotation in Azure Key Vault? So in Azure Key Vault, there will be secret. That secret at one point of time you have to rotate it. Rotate means not like upside down. Rotating means deleting that and creating a new secret. Okay, so which means whenever this happens, the application should automatically be able to access it, right? So they're saying, how do you automate that? So in this context, we should know what is key vault, what is secret rotation means, and how to automate it. Let's guess. Secret versioning with Azure Functions or automation. Azure Web Job, email reminder, Azure CLI script for tasks. So this should be the right one. Why? This is the secret versioning with Azure Functions. You can version it. Okay, see, you can rotate it using the Azure Functions. Okay, all right. What types of secret can you store it in Azure Key Vault? You can actually store secrets, encryption keys, and so you can actually store secrets, encryption keys, and certificate. These three are the main part in Key Vault. And if you look at this three example, this is the only thing which will match. Okay, because Azure Key Vault is all about secrets, keys, and certificate. Okay, secrets are used by the application for connection string and app settings. Keys are used to encrypt the content. It could be storage account or even anything, virtual machine, hard disk, all of those things. Certificate is to communicate between the website certificates. Okay, or website to website or service to service, component to component kind of communication. So certificates are used to authenticate who they are. Okay, an explanation is here, short answer is here. Next one, how can an Azure app access secret from Q? We already discussed about it in the Azure app web apps video, but basically Azure web app will have an identity. You can actually configure this identity to give some permission to access the key vault. So answer is enabling the managed identity for this web app and use the key vault reference or SDK. So that way, like I said, this app identity, where is this? If you go to that any web app, go to identity under settings, you enable it, you get something. With this one, go to the key vault and give permission. That way the secret that is trying to access, it should allow it to access. So this should be the right answer. Okay, next one, is it safe to store the connection string in key vault? Yes, right? Of course. Then what is the purpose of key vault? So answer is yes, it is recommended practice. What is Azure Key Vault and why it is used? We already saw. I think this is not even a question, it's all about understanding, because there is no option. See, I intentionally did like that. Okay, so Azure Key Vault is basically a cloud service used to securely store and access secrets, encryption keys, and certificate. Azure Key Vault is all about securing the information in three formats. One is secret, encryption key, and certificate. So this is more about understanding what is the concept. It's not a question. All right, now how does an Azure function or app service access a secret from the key vault securely? I think we also discussed about it. What it is asking us, an Azure function or an app service, how can they access the key vault securely? Let's go over it. Only using managed identity, we spoke about here. Managed identity, is this the only thing? No, right? This is not the only thing. Can you also have to configure the access policies? Yes. RBAC in key vault? Yes. So either it should be option A and B or RBAC. These two combined or this one. Why? There's a reason here, because I already told you we have to give permission also, right? Access policy. So after you enable this, copy this, go to the key vault, which is explained in this key vault videos. All right, it's all explained in this key vault video. When you go there and give permission, which means you're using this and this. If you don't do it, you can use RBAC in key vault. Okay, we're close to the finishing line. How do you rotate secrets automatically in key vault? We already discussed about rotation of a key vault secrets, which is secret versioning plus Azure automation or Azure functions. That should be the right answer. Okay, what is the difference between access policy and role-based access control? We have two things, right? Access policy and role-based access control. So let's see. Access policy are the older way, RBAC is more flexible way. Both are the same, use any one. Not really. Use both in combination to make it. No, that's also wrong. So this should be the right answer, because access policies are like, when initially Azure came, they had access policy. Then they started bringing up the role based access control. That's why RBAC is now recommended. So this is the right one. And we are close to the 15 questions. Let's go over. These are the questions that we got. And come here and enter honest feedback, whatever you felt. Even if you wanted to tell something that you didn't like it, it's okay. I'm happy to hear that. Okay, so please give your honest answer here, how you felt, how good the questions were framed, and if you have gone through any of these things in your real interviews, do let me know, because they're all realistic interview questions. Okay, understanding the concept and answering is what the best you can give in the interview. Okay, all right, let's finish this exam. Let's go here. This is our last one. Let's see, our score is 100 because we did fortunately everything correct. I can actually come here and click on view in practice mode and go over what I did. It will tell you what is correct, what is wrong. In case if you want to see the explanation, you can explain it, like you can expand this and see the explanation. Alright, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the Azure Key Vault interview questions video, and if you like this video, just hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, share this with your friends, join the Telegram group for more lively discussion. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. There are a lot many other interview videos that is there in the channel, so I encourage you to go and see whatever you're interested. You feel free to take a look. Alright guys, so stay tuned, and I will see you in the next video, which is NGRX state management with the real world example, followed by the Microsoft Entra external ID concept, which is the upgraded version of Azure AD B2C and B2B. So stay tuned. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more tech tutorials. And don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notified when we post new videos. If you have any questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Happy coding!